NASCAR's first cup race on dirt in more than 50 years gets completely washed out by heavy rains. Everyone's looking for someone or something to blame. What if I told you that perhaps the only thing we have to blame is historically bad luck? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying dry, especially those of you in the Bristol Motor Speedway area after heavy rains yesterday and then more heavy flooding rains overnight have plagued that area of Tennessee, affecting all of this weekend's NASCAR action. This is not the video I had planned for today. I was hoping we'd be reacting to the first cup race on dirt in 51 years. We'd be talking about some crazy action, maybe some drama, maybe some controversy. But no, the only controversy we're talking about here today is whether or not NASCAR can control the weather. So it's quite silly, but we are going to talk about Bristol Dirt and its postponement here in this episode today. We'll talk about all the events that we have seen so far this weekend. But before we get to all that, we have to thank today's sponsor, Blue Emu. Maximum pain relief, it's fast acting, it's odor free. Blue Emu Products' non-greasy, deep penetrating formula gets down deep into your muscles and joints to work its magic. It works fast and you will not stink. You've seen their ads all over NASCAR races this season, all over NASCAR cars in recent years, the official pain relief cream of NASCAR. Now also supporters of Out of the Groove, available at stores nationwide. Check them out, Blue Emu, Maximum Pain Relief. They're the sponsors of today's episode. Thank you to Blue Emu. Now, before we get way off in the weeds in this episode talking about Bristol Dirt, let's first cover what's happening tomorrow. So yes, both the truck race, which was already postponed from yesterday, and the cup race have been postponed. They will not race today. No on-track action at Bristol today. The truck race has been rescheduled for tomorrow at noon Eastern time on FS1. The cup race will follow shortly thereafter at 4 p.m. Eastern time, still on Big Fox. So a full slate of Monday afternoon and likely some Monday evening racing from the Bristol Motor Speedway dirt track. This is of course due to massive rains both yesterday morning as well as yesterday afternoon and evening overnight. This morning, heavy flooding was evident around Bristol Motor Speedway. And even on the track itself, here's a photo Haley Deegan posted. You can see lots of standing muddy water there at the track. My boy Danny B from Danny B Talks was out at the track this morning as well. And boy, his photos made it onto ESPN. Look at that. Credit to you, Danny B. But yeah, you can see tons of flooding around the facility. In my opinion, it was a smart call by NASCAR to announce still early in the day, in the morning, that all of this afternoon's racing had been canceled. Smart to not have thousands of people trying to pour into the track through blocked and dangerous, treacherous roads. Smart that NASCAR and the networks decided to call things early today. Hopefully the track is prepared for tomorrow afternoon. I honestly still have some questions. I think there's a chance tomorrow's races could get maybe not postponed, but delayed. We'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully there's no more rain passing through the area, but colder temperatures in the forecast might make it difficult for the surface to dry in a timely fashion. But now let's talk about this weekend, because I know most all of you tuning in are probably equally or even more frustrated than I am, especially if you're a fan who had tickets to the event, was hoping to be there this weekend. Now your travel plans maybe have to be changed. I expect that most of you clicking on this video are not in a great mood. You're pretty frustrated with how this weekend's events have played out. And I don't blame you. I'm right there with you. I was very devastated yesterday when, after basically one lap of heat racing for the trucks, the rain came back and everything was red flagged and everything was canceled. I was pretty devastated, about as devastated as I was when the Daytona 500 was forced to be delayed many hours due to rain. It's a shame that we're 7 races into the Cup schedule. This is race number 7, the Bristol Dirt race. The 2 biggest races of the season so far, obviously the Daytona 500 and then Bristol Dirt, which has been highly hyped up, highly anticipated. It sucks that those are the 2 races that have been heavily affected by rain. None of the other races have had any rain issues. Las Vegas, Homestead, Atlanta, no rain issues whatsoever. It would figure that the 2 most important races here in this first portion of the schedule would be the ones severely impacted by rain. I know NASCAR's unhappy. I know the teams and drivers are extremely unhappy. I bet Fox is extremely unhappy. So don't worry, fans, you're not alone in this. Misery loves company. I understand it doesn't mean a whole lot when NASCAR says they're sad about something, so that's why I'm here to try and be the voice of reason. I'm here to commiserate with you and also talk about what NASCAR or the networks or whoever maybe could have done differently. I hate talking about things in hindsight, because hindsight, as they say, is always 20/20. Of course, if you know what's going to happen, you can make more accurate plans in the present day. NASCAR, of course, had no way of knowing that a massive flooding storm was going to sweep through the area during the race weekend months ago when they planned this Bristol event. So trying to put this on NASCAR as though NASCAR should have known that it was going to pour and rain and monsoon at the track. They should have never scheduled this for the end of March. They should have scheduled this for like June or something. I understand fans want someone to blame, but to me those complaints ring extremely hollow. Yes, The last few years, I think my friend Darian actually put out a tweet that like 5 of the last 8 Spring Bristol dates now have been affected by weather in some capacity. Yes, Spring Bristol, which is usually run in March or April, often is affected by weather, but in this case, a little bit of rain, a light shower one afternoon, really wouldn't have had that big of an effect. In fact, it might have helped the track, helped pack the track in a little bit, helped prevent it from being too dusty. What the track could not handle was the massive rain seen yesterday morning that featured hail in some parts of town, and again, the massive rains overnight that led to serious flooding both inside the track and outside the track. Rains like that do not happen every day, every year even. To suggest that NASCAR and Fox should have been able to foresee this months in advance, that's just silly to me. You know, an hour-long rain shower would not have affected this weekend's series of events in a serious way. Many hours of heavy rain. Hail, again, how much it was hailing yesterday. Yes, that is going to affect any race. And I'll be honest, even if they were racing on the normal concrete surface, I think today's race would have been canceled as well because the entire parking lot was flooded and it was going to be way too difficult for drivers and fans to get to the event. Even if the race was on asphalt or concrete, I think this race gets canceled either way, or postponed, I should say. So to blame NASCAR for not foreseeing the weather, to me, that argument does not hold a lot of water. Yes, spring, March and April, pretty much everywhere in this country, March and April are heavy rain months. You know how the saying goes, April showers bring May flowers. Yeah, even where I live in Texas, March and April see more rain than probably any other month on the calendar year. Now, you could say, in that case, why put a dirt race, which is even more susceptible to weather delays, why would you put a dirt race on the schedule in March or April? Sure, there's something to be said there, but again, a light rain shower, like we've seen in years past, wouldn't have affected this weekend that heavily. A massive flooding storm, you couldn't see that coming. There's no way NASCAR or Fox could have predicted that. It's just, I hate to say it, but it's just bad luck. It really is. It's just a bad omen. I understand that fans are frustrated, but you have to understand there are so many moving parts involved when it comes to scheduling a NASCAR event, especially such a momentous occasion like this, the first dirt race for the Cup Series in 50 years. There was a lot that had to go in behind the scenes. There were many different players that had to come together and compromise. Speedway Motorsports, who owns Bristol and had to overhaul the track over the last several months, they had to compromise with NASCAR, who had to compromise, of course, with Fox, who wanted to liven up a Spring Bristol date that over the last few years had seen significant waning interest. I was a bit of a naysayer when Bristol Dirt was first announced because Bristol Motor Speedway, the normal concrete version, is my favorite track on the schedule, so I hated to see it, and I still really hate to see it lose one of its dates in favor of this dirt experiment, especially when there are purpose-built dirt tracks out there like Eldora, for example, that could possibly contain a NASCAR crowd. I was a bit worried that NASCAR was getting too far out of their element, but even if you go back and watch my videos, my first times talking about this like 6-7 months ago, even then I admitted that perhaps it was the right decision to liven up an otherwise lackluster Spring Bristol date. This whole deal was to fix a date on the schedule that was not selling many tickets and was not attracting many TV viewers, so it made sense that they needed to try and fit this dirt weekend into that March or April timeframe, which unfortunately lands during the rainy season, if you will. But this is what I'm saying. I hate to just keep chalking up to bad luck, but even though this is considered a rainy time in that area of the country, if you look at the weather though for the next like 8 days, look at all that sun. There's only one day in the next like 2 weeks that's expected to have rain. And this is considered the rainier part of the year. So that's my point. Even in rainy seasons, it's extremely bad luck that a massive storm decided to blow through the area right over top of NASCAR's race week. And if this huge storm hits, Tuesday of this coming week, we don't have an issue. But of course it would land right on NASCAR's weekend. Like, obviously, there are things NASCAR can do in the future to maybe mitigate the number of rain delays, less 3:30 p.m. starts and more noon Eastern starts, especially early in the season, especially racetracks in Florida that are prone to weather delays in the late afternoon. I think there's something that can be done there, but in the case of Bristol, I cannot blame NASCAR for just a fluke massive thunderstorm hitting at the worst possible time. That's bad luck. You could plan this race for, September when it's not expected to rain, and you still probably have as good a chance of being hit by a massive thunderstorm as you did here running in March, and it's just bad luck. So I know people don't want to hear bad luck, but it really just feels like bad luck at this point. And I'm a naysayer. I was an initial naysayer of Bristol Dirt. I came around on it a little bit because I saw the buzz it was generating, the hype that was being created, and I saw that tickets were flying off the shelves. I came around on it a little bit, and I was obviously, I was excited from the very beginning, but I was definitely excited this weekend to see what it was going to look like, on TV, what it was actually going to race like. And even I have found myself being forced to admit that this debacle has largely been bad luck beyond NASCAR's control. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of what we did see on track yesterday, because while the general raininess has not been within NASCAR's control, some of the on-track action has been, but also the public reaction and the bad PR that this weekend has already generated is also largely outside NASCAR's control. So, yesterday we did get one lap of racing action in the books. The first truck heat race fired off. After one lap, they red flagged it because mud was being kicked up everywhere and drivers literally couldn't see. Grill openings had been sealed off, so engines were about to overheat. They had to red flag it after less than 2 laps for that, for all those variety of reasons. A lot of people are saying, what was NASCAR thinking trying to even run those trucks in those conditions? In my opinion, they knew the rain was coming. That they thought was their only possible chance of getting all the heat races in, because they had to cancel those heat races. There are several Truck Series teams that were sent home. Ryan Newman isn't going to get to race tomorrow. Jessica Friesen not going to get to race tomorrow. The only chance those drivers had of making the show was if NASCAR was somehow able to get those heat races in. So I don't blame NASCAR for at the very least trying. At least when they realized it wasn't going to work, they shut it down immediately. So I don't blame NASCAR for that. In my opinion, that did not make NASCAR look bad. They were in a desperate situation. They're trying to help their teams out. But things that NASCAR and the networks could control, from the start, Vince Welsh, green flag in there, he calls it Eldora Speedway. Goodness gracious. Fox actually posted on their YouTube channel that first lap of Truck Series action, and it's like they're self-aware. They added circus music over it.
And that is the problem right there. The mud that is on the windshields. And
I mean, hey, at least they're maybe able to laugh at themselves, but that outsiders looking in at NASCAR, seeing that clip, that it's bad PR for NASCAR because they don't know the full story. They don't understand the weather. They don't understand everything. They just see NASCAR trying to run dirt and it not going well, and Fox adding circus music as if to add to the effect. I mean, it's funny. I can laugh at myself, or we can laugh at ourselves, but it's certainly not a good look. It's not good PR. What I'm finding is that any fan who was ever a naysayer about NASCAR trying to run a dirt track or a dirt race, they've come out of the woodworks. They have ammunition now, if you will, at least in their eyes. Ammunition that, again, I do not believe is based in, valid criticisms, but ammunition nonetheless. People point to Tony Stewart, how Tony Stewart was miffed that NASCAR chose to race at Bristol as opposed to his home track of Eldora Speedway. And then you remember, Tony Stewart said that when NASCAR decided to bring Cup to Bristol, that's effectively what caused Stewart to rip Eldora from the Truck Series schedule. So Tony Stewart held a grudge, and a lot of NASCAR fans, especially old school fans, like Tony Stewart. He could do just about anything, and fans will still support Tony Stewart. So of course, that behind the scenes drama with Tony Stewart's being resurfaced. The quotes that we talked about from Richard Petty from a few months ago have resurfaced, of him calling dirt racing unprofessional. I think if you watch that clip from the first truck heat, it certainly looked unprofessional. From the broadcast booth all the way down to what happened on the track, it certainly did not look like a professional world-class sporting event. It's a difficult weekend overall for NASCAR and Fox. They had a lot banking on this weekend. They had high expectations for this historic event, a lot of hype, a lot of promotional materials that went into it, only to see the entire weekend uprooted and rescheduled a day later. That's extremely difficult, so I feel bad for NASCAR and Fox and for all the fans, of course, that were trying to attend, who many hopefully still will, but many probably won't be able to. It's tough. Rainouts, there's never any good decision in the moment. Postpone it a week and run it over Easter. Oh, yeah, that's not great for people at the track who now have to spend another week, in town. That's not great. It's not great for the networks that already have schedules sort of carved out way ahead of time. So there's never a truly good answer during these rain delays in the moment. Of course, fans will speak to hindsight and say, oh, NASCAR should have seen the rain coming. I don't think anyone could have predicted massive flooding overnight like we saw last night and this morning. I think that was extremely unpredictable. Again, a light rain shower here or there would not have hurt things. It's a massive monsoon that drenched this entire weekend and washed out the schedule. It's extremely frustrating. It's extremely disappointing that NASCAR can't seem to catch a break this season, but hopefully they're able to run both races as scheduled now, tomorrow afternoon. Again, those cold temperatures may make it difficult to dry the track, but hopefully things work out. Trucks tomorrow at noon Eastern, Cup at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully the eventual show does live up to the hype. Anyway, that's all I've got here in today's episode. Just wanted to recap some of the events from this weekend, also give you guys my thoughts as to what caused this whole deal and what maybe could be changed going forward. I think in the future, if you want to run a dirt race, the best thing you can hope for is don't try to run it in March and April. Try to run it later in the year where there's at least a little bit less likely to get rained out. But again, you can't control the weather. It rains hard every month of the year at some point. It's just bad luck that the massive storm landed right on race weekend. It could have landed a day or two differently and no problems. It landed right on race weekend. That to me is just bad luck. You cannot control that. You can try to mitigate it with schedule adjustments, but there's always that risk. So that's all I've got to talk about in this Out of the Groove. Just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys and give you guys somewhere, a forum, the comment section, to leave your thoughts and to kind of hear what I have to say. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, misery loves company. That's how I felt this whole weekend. I've just been disappointed that nothing has really gone according to plan, and I want to be able to share that misery with everybody else and commiserate together. I think that honestly, that helps me get over, that helps me feel better. So I hope this made some of y'all feel better as well? Maybe not. I don't know. Hopefully it did. That's all I've got. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR daily. I usually would be doing a race review right now, obviously for reasons I am not, but hopefully very soon. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters as well. I will see you all after the Cup Series race tomorrow, hopefully. I hope it's a good show. I hope it's historic, and I hope people are able to tune in despite the sudden schedule change. Thanks for watching, y'all. I will see you in the next video.